Hello and welcome to the podcast. I'm trying to think of an adjective, Sarah, to describe you. The awesome, the amazing Sarah Farmer.
That'll do.
I'm not setting her up at all here. Sarah, do you want to just say a little bit about what you do, and then we'll kind of dig into and probe and all that kind of stuff.
Okay, hello. Yeah, I'm an executive coach and I specialise in mindset and skill set development and specifically work with senior leaders and C-suite executives and their teams and some very successful entrepreneurs and business owners as well.
Cool. So, executive coaching, there's been a massive boom in the whole coaching world.
Mm-hmm.
Some good, some bad. I think it's good that people can accept that, like, they need to work on things and they need somebody to draw out the blind spots, really. What about if somebody's listening to this and going, there's a million executive coaches. What's the real goal of executive coaching? What's the real benefit of it?
It's a good question. And actually, before I answer that, you just said people think they need it. And actually, it's not. I mean, yes, they do. Of course, there's a need. But people have a misconception that coaching is about if you're doing something wrong, you need to bring a coach in to put it right, which makes them feel like they've been naughty. That's why a lot of people don't want it. They feel like it's a bad thing. And actually, when it works, it's people see, I'm doing this stuff really well, but I want to do other stuff really better as well. And that's the purpose of executive coaching, is help people who are driven and want to achieve more to get to where they want to be faster. Because we all know that without holding a mirror up, someone holding a mirror going, oh, you're doing this, you're saying this, have you heard that? We wouldn't hear it ourselves because we're running on unconscious thoughts and beliefs most of the time.
Yeah, I suppose in my marketing world, I talk about it like sometimes we're marketing based off of what our experience has been. And that experience tells us this, but actually the world's over here. And I suppose coaching's very similar, isn't it? That you have this kind of, this is what you see, and a coach's job is to say, do you realise that bit there, there's something going on?
Yeah, it's somebody said to me once. I'm not sure if this is going to be the right word, but your map is not the territory, or the other way around, whichever it is. But what we see the world as, what we believe to be true, is just our own little map of the world, and it's all this stuff going on the outside. But what I listen for is I look for what people are saying and what they're not saying, and the words that they use. And when you're trying to find a coach that works for you, the most important thing is it has to be a good chemistry. But I would look for people that are able to, or they can coach properly. You know, they're listening. Maybe they've been NLP trained. They're looking for, that's neuro-linguistic programming. They're looking for what's not being said. Because if you're just there for a nice chat, that isn't really coaching. It's nice, it's helpful. In fact, talking to a lamppost makes you feel better, apparently. but to actually get the 40 to 50% improvement in productivity that we look for as good coaches, the real life-changing stuff, you've got to know what you're doing. And you've got to be able to see what's going on around that person and where their tunnel vision is, and open up their eyes a little bit.
And just before we go any further, for anybody watching or listening, there's no script on my podcast. So Sarah has no idea what I'm going to say next. But just to play devil's advocate, there's a lot of airy-fairy stuff out there right now in terms of, like think it and it'll happen kind of stuff. How would you quantify the whole coaching process, in the sense of, there's some people saying, if you just meditate and look in the mirror and say things to you in the mirror, that'll change things. But how do you help people to make sure that they're not just going for a whim, but they're actually seeing something transformation? How do you make sure your coaching's tangible, in other words?
And this is one of the challenges with any sort of training and development things. How do you make it tangible? The way I do it is, for a start, I don't do any airy-fairy. I don't have a problem with people doing airy-fairy. People love crystals or meditation. You do what's right for you. But I'm actually, I'm a science nerd. I've got a degree in applied chemistry. I've come through a science background, and everything I do is based on neuroscience. So for a start, I base it on fact, not fiction. I don't base it on nice things. I base it on something solid. So the work I do is you look at where are you now, where do you want to be, what's causing that gap in the middle, and then for it to be a success, the coaching, relationship, we look at what does success look like? What will you be doing differently? What will you be saying? What will you be feeling? Where will you be? How much will you be earning if that's the thing that you're working on? So we look at very tangible results. And the reason that I do that is that not just because I want to prove, but when someone's looking back at what they've paid for, and for a good coach, it's a significant investment in time, money, and energy. They want to look back and go, I can see that was worth every second I spent, every penny I spent on that. That's always my key aim for them, is that they don't regret a second of it.
And I would agree. I did some coaching, I want to say 2 years ago, and I keep meaning to go and get some more stuff done. But one of the things that I had a struggle with is, okay, you're going to coach me, but how does that exact question I just asked you, I struggled with. And I couldn't honestly, like, I had my reservations. And then when I went through the process, it was an 8 week, I think it was eight weeks I went through. On reflection, it was brilliant.
Is this you were being coached?
Yeah, I did it. Yeah. And, but on reflection, it was brilliant. But the thought of engaging it, I was like, I'm not sure I even need this. But I went down the road and thought, I'll do it. And what I discovered was that there was lots of little thought patterns that I had that I didn't even see, but influenced every little decision I made. And so there was just, I don't want to get into like limiting beliefs, because I think as soon as sometimes we say those words and people go, oh yeah. But it was a limiting belief, but it was just a thought process of, oh no, I should do that. Or, oh no, it should be like this. And I went through this, it felt at the time really uncomfortable, but I went through this process where somebody kept asking me why. And what I found was, after going through that process, there was a whole load of things that when it boiled down to it was stupid things that I know were unrealistic but I'd adopted them, and they were weighing so massively on my decisions.
Yeah.
And it's only afterwards I realized, wow. But going in, I was like, do you know what I mean?
It's really hard. And I have some people who will sit with me, and I do a sort of a coaching discovery session to start with, before we work together, to see, and people will go, right, I get it, but tell me again, how does it work? So what actually happens? And it's really difficult to, unless you've been through it and had that experience, it's very difficult for people to understand it, which is part of the reason I do this sort of upfront session where we just chat, so they can get an experience of what it's like. But until you're actually in it, you have no idea how powerful it can be if you're with the right person doing the right work at the right time with the right intent. That's the caveat, because you can get the wrong people doing the wrong thing at the wrong time with the wrong intent.
I have this. I met a business owner, and this is very, very successful, really successful, and he had more than 40 million in the bank, right? More than 40 million in the bank. I met him in not what they called now. They're not Harvester. Is it Harvester? Yeah.
Probably. I mean, I don't eat in those places, but not anymore. Anyway, I did when I was younger, but now I'm way down.
I met him in a Harvester for lunch, right? And it was a Tuesday, because it was 2 meals for 20 quid on a Tuesday.
Nice.
Right? And I was like, why are we here? And it was fascinating. This person who was so successful, like, everything was there. Like, you can have your dream, like, you can kick back now. And still involved in working, still doing all this stuff. He was about 50 something. And I was like, there's something feels wrong about this. Why? And I wasn't turning into a coach, I promise. But in the conversation, I picked up this vibe that he had the sense that if he stopped working, he'd lose everything. And
Right.
it was like, why is that? And he told me about like his early years of building his business and how it was a fight and a struggle and all these
Yeah.
adversity. And it was almost like he'd never shifted from that mentality, even though now he could literally do nothing for the rest of his life. He had enough money. He was flogging himself as if he had no money.
It's an interesting mindset to have, isn't it? When you've got that, a lot of it is about it's an armor that we put on, and I see this a lot with leaders that have been made redundant. They've been amazing senior leaders, CEOs, CFOs, whatever, and then suddenly they're made redundant, and it's like they've become naked. Their armor, that work armor has gone, and it may be that that person you're describing just couldn't imagine what he would be without this identity, because we often think we are work, but actually we're not. We're human and we're work, but the whole thing is together. But maybe there was a bit of that, self-limiting belief, imposter syndrome stuff going on. I don't know. I mean, it's something that I work with a lot of people on, and the more successful people get, the more scared they are of losing stuff. And yet he had no reason to be scared, because even if he did stop, nothing bad was going to happen.
Exactly. It was
I mean,
like,
he may just enjoy working. Do you know what? We often have this conversation in our house. If we won the lottery, first of all, we'd have to play it. But if we won the lottery, what would we do? And I wouldn't stop. I'd invest more into the business, but I wouldn't stop because I love what I do. But when I got 40 million, I might slow down a bit. Just a bit.
so you raised a good point there. I mean, I don't want to be all doom and gloom, and I feel like I've talked about this quite a bit recently. We've got this whole recession downturn coming. Weird fact, by the way, which is quite funny, is most of the team here at Maverick have never been an adult in a recession, so they don't even know what it's like. So
Lucky them.
that's fascinating anyway.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of people who are going to go through like this, companies are going to go through a kind of rationing. And I don't think they always make the right decisions when it's a recession, and they get rid of good people. And suddenly we've gone from a jobs market where there's nobody, there's going to be plenty. That can take a massive hit on somebody's esteem, getting them ready. They've been in a place for 10 years, 20, no, not 20 years, 10 years, 15 years, and their identity is so much wrapped up with, I've been an EVP of, this place, or I've been director of this for 5 to 6, 7 years. It's quite hard to find your feet again after something like that.
It's an absolute blow, and actually, my book that's coming out at the beginning of next year is exactly for these people if they feel like it's been a blow. Most of them do. It's rare that they come out going, "Oh, it's fine. I'll get another job. I'll be," some of them do. That's fine, but after a while, especially in a crisis that we're in now, a financial crisis where getting another job is going to be harder. It's very quickly, very easy to become scared and worried, and then you start to behave differently. And actually, what happens is in any crisis, in any threat state, which is caused by the economy, landing on its knees, is we start to make some very odd decisions. We think differently. We're in a fear state of mind, so we think differently. It affects our cognitive function, our ability to communicate, collaborate, to innovate, to be brave, just goes out of the window. People start reducing marketing spend, training spend, anything that actually you need to keep hold of to keep people feeling good, so that they can keep you being the number one in the market or getting towards the number one in the market. It all goes. It's a fear response. It's a flight or fight response. And those that thrive next year learn how to manage it. And that's people who've been made redundant, people who are in business, people who are running businesses, running teams. They've got to be able to manage their emotions and their self-control first. And that's a huge amount of the work that I do before I add on any skills on top of that. Because quite frankly, if your mindset's not right, anything we do from a skills point of view, it's the ROI won't be there. You know, the ROI is there when you can do what you need to do properly because this is right first.
Yeah. And the inverse of that, some people are going to find, and this sounds horrible, but I'm just going to say it the way I'm thinking about it. Some people are going to be casualties in a recession where they lose their job, and the people who are left are going to be challenged to step up and almost absorb some of that responsibility, or almost combining roles. That can be quite a shock for people when they go, crudely, shit, I'm now got to step up. And it's like, I've been doing this job, I've been here for so many years, but suddenly this extra responsibility or this new division is merged with yours. And then it's like, what do I do?
Double the workload. And it isn't even just, so either way, you do get hit. You get hit if you're being made redundant, but you also get hit if you stay because you get double the workload. And what I'm also seeing is really interesting is people are picking up, like you say, different departments, different areas. And although as a leader, you don't need to be an expert in that division or that product, whatever, it's really uncomfortable to, first of all, double your workload, but also to do it with people that are experts in different areas to you. So whether you stay or whether you go, whatever happens, everybody's mental resilience, their mental capacity is being drained. And let's remember, it's only like yesterday that COVID was a thing. And we're all mentally drained from that anyway. So I kind of see it as a tank of resilience reserve. It was already bumping around on empty, and now we're withdrawing again. And we're wondering why people are suffering health problems, anxiety. It's really no shock. And for organisations that are aware of this and doing something about it, not just ticking boxes, thank goodness for them, because they are doing their best to look after these people. Sorry, my thing keeps pinging.
So thinking about those kind of, let's talk about them as career shocks. Yeah. And as a business owner, you have those career shocks because, I can remember when I started with, the whole COVID thing, I'm like, all that control has just been taken away from me. And when you're a business owner, you live with an element of risk.
Yeah.
You're living with risk all the time.
Oh, yeah.
But suddenly, actually, the risk was the government's telling us what to do on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah.
I can't plan. It's not in my own control anymore. I in some senses, you felt like you were on, I don't want to diminish it, but it felt like a war footing as a business because you didn't know what was coming next.
Yeah.
That kind of shock, whether you're an employee, senior leader, you could be a junior member of staff or a business owner, that shock, what are some of the things you'd be saying to people if, let's just kind of imagine they're on that 30-minute call with you. What would be some of the questions you'd be helping or saying to them to help them reflect and go, am I in the right place? And how do I draw myself out of that shock state into something that's useful?
There's a couple of things that I'd be doing. One is to understand what's really causing the shock state, because it's a fear response, but people have to see that it's a fear response and they have to recognise they're doing it. Most of us go into it unconsciously or subconsciously, so we don't even know we're really doing it. So the first thing is to raise awareness and say, you are doing this. And they're like, okay, I get that, I'm doing it. Why am I doing it? Where's it coming from? But also, what's it protecting you from? It'll be protecting you from something, because we do it on purpose to keep ourselves safe. The next part is, how do we actually then look at minimising the risk for you? And this is about focusing on what you can and can't control. So we're looking at, I don't know if you've heard of the sphere of influence, but it's something that is used quite widely in my line of work. But this is, we tend as humans to focus on what's on the outside, the things that we cannot control. And now the dogs are barking as well. This is really real life, guys. Sorry, work at home. Excuse the chihuahuas. But so we look at what's on the, what are you focusing on that you cannot control? Because that's usually what causes the fear. I can't control there's a pandemic. I can't control whether I can or not go to work. I can control how much doom and gloom I watch on the TV. And we're all like this. give me more death stats, you know, and just keep doing. And then we wonder why we're feeling worse and worse and worse. So what can you control? What can you influence? And I get people to focus on those. There is nothing like taking positive action to take your mind off the stuff that you can have nothing to do with and can't control at all. And the reason I say this as simply as I do is I've had to do the same. When COVID hit, my whole business died. Absolutely died. And I took 3 months to furlough myself, which felt weird, but I did it. And in that time, I thought, what can you do? What do you really want to be doing? Now be brave and go and do it. And I changed it all around. And that's why I'm doing what I do today. And I have to say thank you to COVID, because for some people, it forced your hand. And I used it as a way to drive me forward, not hold me back.
And I guess that is an attitude, though, isn't it?
It's a mindset. It's a mindset, and it's one you can fake until you make. You know, you talked right at the beginning about, can you stand in the mirror and go, I am great, I am fabulous, this is going to work. Actually, yes, you can. You know, there's an amazing psychologist called Amy Cuddy. You can find her on YouTube, and she talks about power posing. You've probably heard of it. But actually, if you hold a power pose for 2 minutes, like a peacock does when it spreads out its feathers, or a lion roars, and you imitate, even like the Usain Bolt, pose, things like that. If you hold it for 2 minutes, you can create chemicals in your body that make you feel more powerful. That's what's called power pose. While you're feeling like that, you can take better action. So I'm not saying you do it every day, every minute, because otherwise you'd look like a lunatic. But as part of a program of growth, it's a very useful thing to kickstart yourself when you're feeling, ugh. But you've got to do the deep work underneath it, first of all, which is recognizing that you're doing it, why you're doing it, where it's coming from, how it's helping you, how it's hindering you. Then you look at change.
Yeah. So some of those little tricks are good to help you keep momentum.
Yes, absolutely.
Not, if I just talk to myself and tell the mirror I'm wonderful, that's not going to fix the underlying issue.
No.
It just gives you a little kind of burst of positivity that can nudge you.
I call it a Band-Aid. It's a bit of a Band-Aid on a gaping wound. Now, not everybody has a gaping wound, so the Band-Aid is fine on a small cut. You look at someone like the fabulous Mel Robbins, who has her 5-second rule. If you can't do something, count back from 5, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, boom, you go. Brilliant. Those people do not have a serious problem. And it's great for simple little things like, I don't want to get out of bed. Come on. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, get out of bed. This isn't the same as taking control of imposter syndrome or real self-limiting beliefs or, a lack of self-value. That ain't going to cut it. But it's a nice thing to have once you've started to deal with the real problem.
And I guess that value piece, like, if you're stepping up, right? So let's just look at it like recession, right? So
Yeah.
You're a business owner. Well, there's kind of 3 camps I'm seeing here, right? You're a business owner going into recession. Even for me, COVID was kind of insulated recession, really. It didn't feel like a recession because there was so much support to kind of insulate us from the pain of it. But if you discount that, the last recession I had was 2008, which seems a million miles away.
Yeah.
I can't remember what that was like properly, but it was difficult, but it's like over there somewhere.
Yeah.
So me as business owner going into a recession, I'm like, oh, what's this going to bring? There's that sense of, am I capable to see the business through that? What decisions will I make the right decision? What if I make the wrong decision?
Yeah.
You've got EVP or, senior leader in a business who's just took over responsibility going, I've now got a whole load of responsibility in a difficult time for the business. That whole value piece sat there going, can I do this? Am I up to this?
And then, worse, people think they're the only ones thinking that. They think I'm alone thinking that. And actually, when we come out and go, I'm thinking like that too, everyone goes, oh, thank goodness. I thought it was because I was rubbish. No, it's not. It's because you're a human being.
Mm-hmm. And then you've got the people who've lost their job who take the whammy of, so I was expendable. That's a hit.
Massive.
But then the natural thing is, there's going to be more people going for the same job now, a year ago, it was like, actually, that there was one person applying for a job, you've got it. Now you're going to have this scenario where you might actually get rejected. So it kind of reinforces the fact that I was expendable and now I've been rejected. And now I've got to prove myself to somebody else when I've just had 2 knockbacks.
And that's the mindset problem, is if you think like that, it's going to leak. I talk about emotional leakage a lot. It's going to leak out in every application you do, every interview you go into, every conversation you have. We cannot help but leak this information. You and I, we all have mirror neurons in our head, these things that pick up information. And if I'm uncomfortable, you will pick it up as an interviewer. You might not know why, but what it does is it raises a level of discomfort in you that makes you think, I'll just tell that person they weren't a good fit because I have no idea why I don't like them. But the fact that my trust and my fear responses, trust has gone down, fear has gone up, I don't want them in my business, even though they could be the best person. So part of my other life in what I do is helping people, and I started this during COVID, is helping people manage the mindset before they even go into an interview and get rid of the I was expendable to I was a casualty of circumstance, but here's all the evidence to say that I am worthy and I am valuable and I am awesome and you need me in your organization. And when people have that mindset, they are oozing, instead of leaking negativity, they're oozing competence, the right level of confidence, not over, because that's icky, and people warm to them. And that's when you get, people go, actually, I've now got 4 job offers. How did that happen? Well, because we switched the mindset around.
You said something really interesting there, and this is really hard. I've interviewed a lot of people over the last 2 years, and we've grown our team here. But one of the things that I've always struggled with is detecting the difference between humility and a lack of confidence in an interview. I really struggle to detect which is which. I can tell you what overconfidence looks like.
Yeah.
I can tell you what somebody who looks like a good bet looks like, but when you meet somebody who's really kind of just down to earth and straightforward, but humble, or lack of confidence, I can't tell the difference. And one of my best members of staff I hired, she asked me at the end of the interview, do you have any concerns about me as a candidate? And I thought, I'm going to be honest. Normally I would go, I don't like answering.
Yeah.
And I said, my only concern is you come across as being quite nervous and quite not very confident. And I would worry if you have to do certain types of work, whether you'd be able to carry that out. And I was honest, and I thought, I don't know whether I should have said that or not. She's turned out to be one of the star players, but in her interview, she wasn't very confident, and it undermined her interview with me. And it could have gone either way. And I guess that, I don't know what I'm even saying here, but
well, it's interesting because your perception, what I hear from that is your perception was she wasn't as confident as you've liked her to be. There could be reasons for that. It could have been in how she was communicating with you. It could have been the fact it was just an interview. And as an interviewer, it's really important to put that person at ease, because you are potentially in a high pressure situation. They want to show that they're right, but also you want to show that you're right for them as well. But so she left you with a perception of not so much confidence, but what she did at the end proves something very different to you. An unconfident person would not say, what do you think? They would have just gone, thank you very much, goodbye. And actually it was that turned it around, I would think. That's because it gave you an opportunity, but you liked her. If you had disliked her and felt her unconfidence, you'd have just said, no, you're fine. And then, you weren't the right cultural fit. I don't know what it was, but there was just something. So I know there wasn't really a question in there, but it was just an interesting observation for me to hear, as someone who helps people in interviews, how to get things back on track if you can. But yeah, it's a high pressure situation for both parties, isn't it?
Yeah, but for me, it was really interesting to see how difficult it was for me to decide to differentiate like somebody being just nervous and
That
humble,
was it. Yeah. How do you
and
see the
and
difference?
and somebody, you know, I don't think they can cut it. The
So
line between those two is really difficult
it
to
is,
judge.
it's murky. And actually in the book, I have created, oh, well, now it's going into the book, is this something called the imposter meter. And in those descriptions, so we've got this utopic state in the middle, which is not no, but it's low levels of imposter syndrome. It's just a moderate level of self-limiting belief that makes us, humility is there, but not over humble. On this side, you've got extreme overconfidence and mild overconfidence. We recognize that straight
Yeah.
away. To the other side of this utopic state is humble plus. And it's a bit too, it's consistently humble, putting yourself down, self-deprecating, say, oh, oh, I'm not sure. And you pick it up. And then you've got the next extreme, which is almost crippled by imposter syndrome, where you don't even speak up. You wouldn't even go to an interview. So what you're seeing is that sort of humble plus into utopic state. And I think we just need to accept in an interview, people might become a little bit more nervous because of the pressure there, and they want the job and they want to do a good job, to allow them to dip into that a bit, but to recognize it as what it is. Do our best to cause comfort so they can relax. But look for consistently putting yourself down. Look for not being able to say, this is what I did, how I did it, and speak with confidence. And if you're picking it up, there's a lack of confidence. There is. It's that simple. There just is. That's your perception. That's what they're leaking to you. And maybe ask them, I'm picking up you're a bit uncomfortable right now. Is there anything I can do to make you feel more comfortable, or what's going on for you?
It's interesting you say that about the I and we. That's come up a couple of times this week for me. I've been talking to a couple of people about, and I actually spoke to an executive on Wednesday in a company, and he was saying, we've been advocated, and this is where it comes into my world, we've been advocated by senior management to get out there on social media and build the personal brand for the business. But he said, how do I communicate out there using I and what I'm doing in the business without undermining the team effort? And I don't know whether that's a sign, just a genuine conversation, or a sign of this I versus we. If you're saying we a lot in an interview, or it can be good to say, oh no, I'm part of a team, but actually it's also, you can hide behind we as well.
You can. So it's again a really good question. How did it? The I is, what did I do to facilitate this thing that I'm talking about? But the ability to say I didn't do it on my own is humility. The humble, or the over humble plus stuff is, oh, we did this, we did that, we did the other. Now, what's really interesting here is that people with, we're now looking at behavioural styles. If you've got a strong analytical preference or an amiable preference, that might not mean anything to people out there, but there are four main archetypes of behaviours that we have. I'm a massive expressive. Hi, look at me. You're more of an introverted analytical preference. We can just tell that by the way you speak, the way you hold your body. But people who are more analytical and amiable will talk about we more than I, because they want to be part of the team and they don't want to look like they're showing off. Whereas the expressive and the drivers might be like, oh, I did this, I did that, and have to remember that actually it wasn't I, it was actually us and we. So we've also got behavioural styles and preferences in here that will drive how we're communicating what we're trying to get across to the interviewer, the potential employer. So part of the work that I also do is not just the mindset, but how are you going to communicate that in a way that other people can hear? If I was being interviewed by you and came in going, oh, hi Dean, I'm massive expressive, that's all I'm giving off, and you're thinking, right, back off, Tiger, immediately there's a dislike. It wouldn't matter what I said. You've already decided I am not the person that you want in your team because I am too full on. And I should be able to tone that down and dial it down appropriately to speak to the person in front of me so that I can build liking, build trust. And then I should be calmer, you should be calmer, I should be able to think about I versus we. It all just then comes together.
Do you think there's just on that, with the dynamic of, say, an interview or a big meeting, for an example, and this might be straying out of your area, I'm not sure. That whole mirroring piece, it's very important in sales conversations, but who should be the mirror?
The grown up who knows about it. Whenever I'm training this, people go, well, why should I have to do it? I'm like, right, first of all, you're learning how to do it. So be the grown up and use it. Why wouldn't you want to use it? That's the question. Mm-hmm. Most people feel annoyed or they're just uncomfortable doing it because it feels, why should I change? Now, the thing about this is such a big topic, and it is communication styles, versatility, massive part of everything that I do because it underpins everybody's success. But if you're in a meeting and there is high tension or high pressure, you become versatile because it lowers tension. Mm-hmm. If you're just having a chat with people you've known for ages, you don't need to be versatile as much. The only time we need to be versatile is when we're in a stressful situation, something new is happening, or it's a new relationship. That's when you need to put on your best clothes and your best outfit and your best face and everything because you're trying to build liking. It's not that you're creating an unrealistic idea of who you are. You're just putting on your best self. And one of the biggest misconceptions is this mirroring is I become someone else. If I'm mirroring someone who is quieter than me, more analytical and slower of speech, I'm still me, but I'm just changing the tone of my voice. That's it. And all of a sudden, I no longer offend that person in front of me because I've toned it down. People think I've got to change and be changed forever. Well, you can't because it's exhausting. It's not authentic. It's stupid. Use it wisely, use it sensibly, use it when you need to, and use it appropriately by dialing up, dialing down little behaviours to help the situation move faster, be better, be more productive. That's the intent always.
So the whole mirroring piece works well wherever you are, really, whether if you're trying to bond with somebody, but I'm just going to throw a spanner in again. In an environment where you've got a lot going on in your head, there might be things like this needs to go well. I want to give the right impression. So you've got all of these things running around. How do you control yourself to be able to go, right, okay, I should be mirroring here and not just drifting off into bouncy you, or how do you organize that?
It's a conscious decision. So I've been doing this for years. I got trained to do this in one of my first sales jobs, which is nearly 30 years ago. All right. And I have been trained and retrained and trained and retrained. Then I become a trainer of it. I do it every day. It is a conscious choice that my intent in any relationship is for it to be comfortable. So automatically now, because of the amount of times I do it, and I do get it wrong still, often, that's just being human, is I automatically think, who have I got in front of me? How are they presenting? What do I need to do to make them feel more comfortable? That's it. And that's all I do. You have got a lot going on in your head when you're going into an interview or a tricky situation. Self-management, learning how to think things through and plan for that meeting and plan to manage your own self-control is key. And that's what I teach people to do. How do you do that? First of all, you have to know how you're coming across in the first place. If I didn't know I was a loony expressive, or when I've got my guards down, I would never know to tone that down with someone that wasn't. You've got to learn. One thing I just want to say about mirroring, there's a lovely video, which I'll share with you offline, of what happens when you have built a strong connection, you've really related with someone. It's that without knowing, you start to mirror. So if you're chatting to someone, you're getting really well and they do this, you can see the other person start to do that as well. They start to mirror you. That is a sign that they are bonded with you and feeling really relaxed. So I'm not going to stop copying you doing this now. But what people think is that they do it on purpose to make someone like them. Don't do that, because that just looks weird. So if you move forward, then I do this and I start copying you, you'll think, why is she copying my every move? But it happens automatically. And sometimes you catch it happening and you think, oh, It just happened. And you realize you're in deep rapport with someone. It's incredible.
So that kind of, it's like I pick my coffee cup up and you pick your coffee cup up. If it happens naturally, that's quite normal. But
That's
if you start to do it
fabulous.
too weird, it's...
No, you don't want to. I mean, some people will say, well, mirror a bit of stuff. So if someone is sat leaning forward, you might automatically sit up a bit straighter because you want to match some of that. But you probably do that automatically. But what you're looking for is what's my baseline? How do I behave and what do I do? Normally I'm kind of in the screen and forward and all of this. But if someone comes in and they're sat right back and they've got their arms folded, I would probably just immediately move back a little bit. But I do that without thinking now because it's part of my ingrained behaviour. But when I get it wrong, oh my God, can I tell? And we know when we've got it wrong. Just a quick story. I was being interviewed by 4 senior leaders in an organisation I was going to do some work with. The first 3, I was seeing them all back to back. Big mistake. First 3, all expressives like me. We had a lovely time. We chatted. It was brilliant. Went into the last one at 5 o'clock till 5:30. This guy sat in the canteen area and I banded in. I was like, hi, should we have a cup of tea? And he looked at me and just went, no, we'll just have a chat and we'll get on with it. Thank you. I mean, I couldn't have made, and I never backtracked. I mean, I still got the gig, but he never liked me. And it was that simple because I'd lost my emotional self-control. I'd been on expressive, waggy tail, Labrador puppy-esque mode for the last 3.5 hours. I didn't take a second to go, think, calm, see what's in front of you, deal with that first. It's a good learn though.
I had a story somewhat similar of somebody do that to me. And it was surprising that they approached me on LinkedIn. It was actually a coach.
Yeah.
And their approach to me was very good. And I was kind of impressed because obviously that's my thing, sales outreach and stuff. It was like, I'm really impressed with the way you do it. So I'll have a call with you. And there was a few pleasantries and they told me a bit about their background and everything. And they'd been involved in some big businesses. So I was like, oh, okay. And then it's kind of started to turn into a coaching session. And they adopted a style with me, which was a little bit like, I'm the expert and I'm going to ask you questions. And one question they asked me, and I think it was the way they asked me, they said, well, why have you not done that yet? Right? And the style of the way they did it, and I went, so you see Dean like this now chatting, and then Dean goes like this.
Well, she's saying to you, what you're hearing there is, I was going to swear then, you're an idiot. Why haven't you done that yet? And actually, you said earlier in this conversation about the why. Actually, coaches ideally wouldn't be using the word why. What you're doing when you're coaching is tell me how you've come to that conclusion. How did you decide not to do that or do that? It's a very different conversation to, why didn't you do that, idiot? Because that's how it feels, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it's like in a sales process, shut down.
Shut down completely. And I said, well, it's been really nice chatting.
Bye-bye.
Because it's like, hang on a minute, you're going to take me on a journey. You have to take me on a journey. And they were like, no, I'm going to grab you by the neck and try and pull you on this journey. It's like, I'm not going.
Someone said to me yesterday, we were talking about, she was describing her troubles in the position she's in, and she's very high level up but doing a lot of sales-based stuff. And she said, I'm having to drag these clients through the process and do this. The words that we use describe exactly how we're going to feel about that person. If she feels she's dragging someone through it, if that person thought they were the expert, it's all wrong. The intent is wrong. The intent for a coach is purely, first of all, do we gel? If we do, what is it you're trying to achieve? Can I help you? Can I help you? Can I show you stuff holding up the mirror? Can I ask you questions? People don't know how to discover well enough. They just go in with crap questions, that, like old sales techniques. Why are you doing that? You want this instead. You shouldn't be doing that. Of course, it's going to rub people up the wrong way. To me, that's someone who hasn't invested in learning how to understand someone else's situation well enough without giving their back up.
I was surprised how quickly I went from like really relaxed and chatty to like,
You can feel it in an instant. And it doesn't matter how long you've been talking and how much you like that person. In that second, you decided that was it. And you cannot get that trust back. You can't. It's gone.
yeah. And it's, you know, if you make that mistake in a meeting or an interview, it can be not just like job, you know, you don't get the job. If you were in a role, a senior role, it can leave you, it can end your career, or it can leave you stuck in a job where you could have had progression.
Yeah, it causes all sorts of problems. Once you're in a job and you've got some collateral with people, you've built up a bit of an emotional bank account, you can make mistakes. But you can't afford to do that in the very early stages. So when you're interviewing, when you're onboarding, you know, I talk about the importance of getting the onboarding piece right. This isn't just what you do in your first 90 days from a task point of view, but how do you build allies? How do you build relationships? How do you build people that are going to support you and you can support them? Because if you're not making, you don't have to like each other, but if you're not building trust, you're on a real fast exit out the door very soon afterwards, because it's all about building trust first. But once you've got that collateral, once you've built those relationships, you can make errors. You can come back from errors. But also there's a whole process of how do you do that. First of all, you've got to know you've made one. Then you've got to apologise for it. And then you've got to say, this is why I'm going to prevent this happening again. And for some leaders who aren't humble enough, they're like, I don't need to do that. I'm the leader. And guess what? They're the ones that sometimes end up staying in a job because people are too scared to get rid of them. And they're like, you don't want to get rid of them, get rid of the other ones.
Yeah. So Sarah, how do people work with you? How would somebody engage with you, and what do you do? What does your program or the way you work with people look like?
So there's a few ways to work with me. I work one-to-one, and actually I have literally one space left for next year. I mean, I was about to be too humble then and say I've been really lucky. I haven't. I'm good. Okay, so that's why I've got one space less for next year. And so that's, if you want to work with me one-to-one, we need to talk now, and I need to put you on a waiting list probably. But that's okay. But I work with the people for a minimum of 6 months one-to-one. It usually goes to 12 months and often beyond that, or people stop at 12 and then come back 6 months later. The group stuff is easier to get involved in. And the main one I'm working on at the moment is the Eagle Development Programme, which is all about developing mental resilience, confidence, taking control of imposter syndrome. And that course is starting on the 11th of January. There's already people booked in on that, but there are spaces. But if people want to find out what I do and how to work with me, go to my website. I don't know if we can put the details on here. Find me on LinkedIn, DM me, do something, and just say, I'd just like to talk to you for half an hour. Those half an hour coaching discovery sessions are a two-way street. We find out about each other. But they are at the moment just for senior leaders and executives, because I don't have the space or time, sadly, to work with first line leaders and individual contributors. But that's something that I'm looking to grow the team to do over time, so that they can also get all the goodies that are out there for these for the senior leaders too.
And people can kind of jump in. You've done a webinar in the last couple of weeks that's on YouTube. They can have a look at that.
Well remembered. So I've got, yes, the webinar. Oh yeah. And funny enough, I've got one coming up on Wednesday. I'm glad you reminded me. I will show up. So there's a webinar coming up on Wednesday. That's 3 till 4. And if you want to get involved in that, I haven't seen anything about it, just DM me. We'll get you the information. But you need to book in. It's a closed group, so you need to book in to do that. And that is all on how do you take control of negative self-talk, which quite frankly, I don't know many people that aren't having a little bit of negative chatter going on at the moment, because the world's just a little crazy.
Media doesn't help. They love a good nightmare story.
Don't they? Well, I don't. That's why I don't read them. I don't read anything. I'm terrible. I just read articles now rather than watch the news or media, because it just brings me down. But that's my emotional self-control. My control mechanism is there. So if you want to hear more about how to take control of the mindset and, you know, stop that negative chatter, join me. It'll be an enlightening, fun session. I will be expressive and lively.
Are you just being subdued because of me?
I'm being quite well contained, aren't I?
So Sarah, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this up. I'll put the links to your profile. I'll also I'll get people the details of that webinar. So after this, I'll put it out. I'll put a little post out on LinkedIn so people can get that just in case they don't see it in time. Sarah, you've been an absolute star. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me. And I can only apologise for the pinging and the dog noises and everything else. But the joys of working from home, it's just what it is. But thank you for having me.
I'll leave you with this funny story, right, about working from home.
Okay.
Because this was so much fun, right? So I'm on a call with a CMO of a big company. We're talking, and she's at a desk in a bedroom.
Yeah.
Bed's all made and everything, and there's like those, you know, those sliding mirror wardrobes.
Yes. Yeah.
Right. And it looked like she'd shoved all the junk in the wardrobe and she'd not slided it across. And I was like, and then she realized I was looking at her junk in the wardrobe.
There's an even better one that I won't say who it was actually, but somebody I know was on a Zoom call with somebody and someone walked past naked. I think that's happened a few times. So they were in an office bedroom, but the door was open to the hallway. And obviously someone didn't realise they were on a call and they just walked straight past in the buff. And this person was just like, whoa, that was a lot I wasn't expecting to see today.
Wow. Well, we didn't go that far, so we're all good. So Sarah, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it. And go find out more about what Sarah gets up to. And if you're somebody who needs Sarah's help, go
have a chat.
Find out more.
Yeah.
Drop her a line, have a chat. She won't grill you. She won't do what that coach did to me. And Sarah, thanks again.
Thank you.